we have a bit to show you guys and expose you to about what's been going on behind the scenes with SAES. And first of all, we're going to welcome Utolile Ntaka. He's the chairman of SAES as well as chairman of Africa Racing Together of the Board of Trustees. He's going to give us the vision behind SAES and Africa Racing Together and give us a good perspective as to where we're going with South African motorsports. So please give him a warm welcome. So they're great to be here. Every time we sit down together, you're giving me good news. It's become a theme now. And I think this is possibly a vision you've always had for SAS to descend on Kyalami. Can you give us some background as to what the beginning was like and how the work going on behind the scenes has built up to this moment?
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone that's here. Thank you for honoring the event. Thanks to the media people that are here today. Thanks to our sponsorships, to racing teams that are here, fellow drivers. I welcome you to this press briefing. Before I start, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart the team from Kyalami. You know, without that team, Megan and his team and her team, this would not be possible. So I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You have made a dream come true. So the question is, where did this all start? It all started when I got to understand what racing is. It all started when I participated in the first race with my fellow teammates that were there, the Stradale team. Charlie is here. That team played a very big role. But today we are here to talk about SAES. We've always had this one big dream that motorsport will return to its glory days when we were kids watching the West Bank V8s and all those series that used to be there when we were kids. Cyril van der Merwe, even if you were a kid in Umtata, you knew about this race driver.
True.
Today, I feel at least that motorsport has lost that. So when this journey began, it was a journey of hope where I spoke to a couple of guys and said, look, can't we see what we can do better to make the sport appeal to a larger audience? Can't we do something better to almost mimic or almost look like what is happening overseas? And for that to happen, we needed to have a platform. That platform then became SAES and South African GT Racing. That is where it all started. So for us to be here today at Kyalami, the mecca of motorsport in South Africa, it's honestly a dream come true.
Absolutely, and I think it's a very fitting moment and a beautiful namesake as well to say that we are at Kyalami. And there are many things that make South Africa unique as a home and its own home for motorsport. So what elements of our uniqueness does SAES want to bring into motorsport as compared to the international example that we've seen?
You see, we have a unique opportunity. We have a unique opportunity in the sense that here is a sport that is probably where it could grow. Motorsport predominantly has been a sport of privileged people.
Yes.
In this country, predominantly white people. Now we have this unique opportunity where we can rally behind a sport and bring inclusiveness. Bring people of color, bring people that have never had an opportunity to participate in the sport. As you might know, motorsport is not just about the cars racing on track. in my view, that is only 20-30% of motorsport. Motorsport is everything else that you don't see on track. The opportunities and life-changing moments that it could bring to many of us, including people of color that have very few and very far apart opportunities in this country.
Yes, it's an entire community.
It is.
And I think Africa racing together then alludes to that idea that there's more to racing. The togetherness of that community is something that needs to be emphasized. So what role does the Africa Racing Together Foundation play in working alongside SAES?
Africa Race Together, funny, it was launched here in Kyalami during the first SRO 9 hour that happened
Oh, wow.
here.
So when you say Kyalami, you literally mean Kyalami because everything is launching here.
As a young man, I've always dreamt of being here. Kyalami has been very close to my heart. So ART was launched here. ART, if I give you a little bit of background about ART, ART was a concept that started at the height of the Black Lives Matter situation. And people had all different narratives about how they should relate to that situation in our lives, where there was great divide amongst people across racial lines. And one day I was sitting with two colleagues and I said to them, motorsport can be bigger than this conversation that we have here. Motorsport can be a platform like any other sport of uniting people. Motorsport can bring people together and cross color barriers. And Africa Race Together was born out of that conversation, where we said, where we sit as drivers, there's not a lot of people of color in motorsport, as you know.
Of course.
When we sit and we feel that others are privileged over the other, it's a problem. So ART seeks to find the next Kwanda, the next Mikhail Pitamba, the next Jordan Pepper, the next Stuart White. That's what ART stands for.
And the next Gerald, the next team manager.
The next team manager.
Yeah.
ART is a organization that is now focused in finding talent, because the people that you see in motorsport today, and probably the people that we think have been great in motorsport, have been funded by their fathers and their families.
True.
You know, it's like an old saying where we grew up in the villages studying Bantu education, and other people are studying Model C and in privileged schools. And we have this concept in our heads that these that studied in these better schools are probably clever than the ones that studied in the village. No, it's not.
It isn't.
It's just that the others had an opportunity of being trained and given an opportunity early enough. Same as motorsport. If we give equal opportunity to everyone, find those people, whether they have a father to pay for them. Currently, we pay for racing drivers overseas. We support programs with people that are pursuing their talents. I mean, Stuart races overseas. The team pays for that and other sponsors. And it's not about color. Last time I checked, Stuart White is white. This is about children, whether you're black, white, or gray. That's what ART seeks to achieve, to open up fair opportunities for mechanics, people, media people, people in catering, people in all parts of motorsport. This sport brings a lot of revenue to a lot of people and a lot of countries that host big motorsport events.
Yes.
I mean, you come to Kyalami, 80% of the time if you come to Kyalami, the people that are here are white folk. There's very few black people here.
Indeed.
We must change that. And if we do that, corporate will come back because that's where the masses are.
100%.
Come back to the sport, it will be supported again.
Absolutely.
That's my little 2 cents about that.
Wow, very valuable 2 cents at that. I think it's beautiful to see that culture has a chance to be rejuvenated in motorsport from a genuine sense, from the ground up, on a developmental level and touching across all spheres. Apart from just racing drivers, but you're looking at the whole community. Now, I'd love also to have Wayne Riddell join us, the CEO of SAES and our event promoter. He's going to give us a great background and fill in on what Xolile has laid as a foundation in terms of how motorsport works and endurance racing in particular. So it wasn't social distancing. I was making space for Wayne to make sure that he could join us. We're going to have a couple of the racing drivers join us as well. Then we have a nice round perspective of how Inter-Africa and SAES works. Wayne, welcome.
Thank you. I'll be the rose amongst the thorns. I think that was the end of load shedding. Yeah, I think that was the end of load shedding. We've just phased out. We're now back onto normal power.
So Wayne is a light bearer.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Everybody put your hands up. Many hands make light work. I think before we go down where you want to go, I just want to support Xolile and his vision. You know, when he says he spoke to 2 colleagues with the idea, I was one of them. And he wanted to get this movement, but he wanted to make the movement very focused on motorsport. And him and our other partner is an Afrikaans guy, Isak Spies. And so we have a melting pot, just the 3 of us here. And basically, Xolile said to Isak, he says, the only way we're going to get where we need to get is to jump off the bridge. Do you remember that? And Isak, the first thing Isak says, he says, I don't mind jumping, but I want to know there's water underneath. And Xolile looked to me and said, Wayne, you need to find the water. And that's really what the initiative was, and that's how Africa Race Together was born. And very few people know that at that time, that was 3 years ago now, 2 years, 3 years ago, the concept, Xolile was funding Lonica Martins, a little white lady that was racing in the team. She was racing in America. Xolile was funding that. He was funding Stuart White. He was funding you had the development team that you were starting with the Polos, but you were complaining because they kept crashing all the cars, they were eating your budget. But yeah, so these are all of those little concepts that Xolile was doing all of this work before there was this idea and this movement. He was already doing it.
Wow. Yeah, that was a partnership with Stradell. I must thank them for
exactly.
that. Stradell is here, Charles is here.
Yeah.
That was our concept where we started a fully 100% funded development team, something that was new in the country. So that's how most of these guys today that we see, Stuart is overseas. Yes, I mean, they didn't start there, but they were in that program.
So that's really what I'm saying. We've taken a passion of one man and we've now turned it into a movement. And I think, as Xolile correctly points out, the BLM created for the world to recognize that a movement does work. So that's really, I think, the grass basis of ART. I mean, you see our logo carries some of the movement's heritage in it as well. Yeah. But so we decided we're going to make this movement a motorsport movement. And he's correct, we did launch the concept, yeah. And we've systematically and slowly built it up. We can now proudly say from Africa Race Together, we're a registered not-for-profit organization with government. We have all the relevant paperwork as a foundation, and we're also now registered with SARS as a Section 18A organization. So big corporates who invest in this initiative and this development within motorsports growth can benefit from that as well. And as both of you have touched on the base, that, and Xolile is correctly pointing out, that the racing drivers are racing drivers. And if I had to announce on social media today that we are recruiting racing drivers, I will have cues that will make the 94 election look silly. That's a reality. But the problem is that every racing driver who sits on a grid has 10 people behind him 100%. Making stuff work so that he can be on that grid. I mean, just the preparation of the car to do the laps today. There's a few guys that are going to do some laps for demonstration purposes. The team worked until midnight last night preparing the car. And the team, not one person, there was a whole lot of people that were working till late last night. And those are the things that make up a team. There's dietitians, there's physiotherapists, there's kineticists, there's social media people, there are influencers, there are TV, there's photographers, logistics, there's a forklift driver, there's a truck driver, there's mechanics, engineers. All of those people make up a racing team. So ART, we want to get this foundation off the ground properly now. We're now ready. We're now ready to start launching it properly nationally, where we recruit kids that are good in science and maths. Why? Because that's where race engineers start. Someone who can grasp the basics of mathematics and science, that's where we start. We want to find those kids, get them through school, get them through programs, get them into motorsport. So that's really our initiative.
Jeez, where were you guys when I was 5 years old? Jeez. So it's a sentiment a lot of the current young generation can share, in that there weren't traditional paths and structures to pursue motorsport, but this is becoming that in a very genuine way. So what does the future of those structures look like? You've already alluded to taking up young talent educationally and upskilling them in that nature, but what are people going to be engaging with? We have the 9 hour today. What does the next year, next 2-3 years look like in terms of these events and engagements?
So thanks. I think let's just spend 5 minutes, if we can, just what is endurance racing? It's the most boring form of motorsport to the spectator.
And that's coming from the guy trying to get people to come here.
Let's call it what it is. Let's not hide. We need to be honest. And if we're not honest, we're not here. We're here for the wrong reason. It is boring for a spectator because a spectator does not understand endurance racing. What very few spectators know is that Formula One is also endurance racing. That's a fact.
Yes.
All right. It's a 300-kilometer race. That's a reality. But what makes Formula One is all the hype and all the pizzazz and all the entertainment, all the excitement and all the rest. And I mean, I was absolutely blessed. 2 weeks ago, I was at Vegas for the Vegas Grand Prix. Very little was about the Grand Prix. 90% of it was about the razzmatazz, the entertainment, and everything else happening all over Vegas, including the Strip. The Bellagio Hotel got involved. They got their VIPs in there. They brought more people to the casinos and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with Formula One. But it was all based on the back end of the Formula One brand. Lamar is a popular brand that the world knows. It's a 24-hour race. I can tell you right now, if you look at the stats, the behind-the-scenes stats, the viewer stats, they drop off after the first hour like they hit a brick wall. It just goes down. But nobody leaves the track because they've got amusement park, flea markets, hotels, music festivals, restaurants, all sorts of stuff in the middle of the circuit. And it's a whole village, it's a whole vibe. People come there. They've got camping sites where caravans and tents and bike rallies happen, and everything else happens around it. Everybody's hanging on the fence for the first hour to watch the cars go. Then they focus about the entertainment. What else is there? Then as the night fall, and it's a different vibe and it's a different entertainment, they're back on the fence again, watching a little bit. Then those that got stamina are around at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're starting to wake up from their little slumbers along the track. Then they're back on the fence. And then they disappear again. The last time you see them is the last hour of the race, from 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on that Sunday. That's when they're back. So endurance racing has to do that. That's a vision that Kolile has for endurance racing in this country. There is some support races, there's some support classes, but we need to bring a value proposition to the sport outside of just cars. The reality is that the bulk of the South African population doesn't understand motorsport. So if we can create a vibe and an entertainment vibe, that is what they resonate with and they attract. When they get here, they say, wow, there's racing cars as well. It shouldn't be racing and XYZ artist playing. It should be the other way around. That, I think, if I understand correctly. So Kolile's vision and passion here is about, let's create a social event, let's create a lifestyle event, and one of the acts of the weekend is motorsport. And I think that way we will transform the face, the space of motorsport. And that is where we will find the people who suddenly have a passion for motorsport because they've never experienced it. A lot of people, Kolile is correct, privilege has been a big role. My first experience that I have in my memory of motorsport was here at Kyalami. I was 8 years old. My mother brought me here with my dad, the whole family. We came here on a Friday, and we camped at the track on the Friday night. We slept in the back of the combi, and my mother woke us up early in the morning. We had breakfast, and we cooked there next to the track. We spent the whole day there. That was my first experience of motorsport at the age of 8. Now, Kolili, he's heard the story before, but he always says to me, he says, I wish I had that opportunity.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, we don't have such memories. There are very few people of color that have that memory. But again, I do not want to turn this interview to be almost focused on that. The most important thing is we have a duty in our hands. We have to build a sport. We have to transform a sport. We have to contribute to society through this vehicle called motorsport. We need all of each other to make sure that this works.
Correct. So what's endurance racing? That was your question.
From the start, yeah.
So endurance racing is about the competitor who can do the furthest distance in a specific time. That is the very clear definition of endurance racing. Who can get the furthest in that time? So in a Kyalami 9-hour environment, who can get to do the most laps inside of 9 hours? That's really what this is about. And unfortunately, motorsport is just like a good old grandfather clock. It's got a pendulum and it swings. And
100%.
you can, for 1 hour, be up, the next hour you're down. And the hour after that, you're back up again, and the other team is down. 1 minute, 1 lap, 1 hour, and it changes. And the difference is consistency. So we have a few national championships classes happening, and I was reminded by my media team just now that we have 13 national titles that have not yet been decided.
And all of that is
All of that's
descending
going to
on-
happen next weekend.
Incredible.
So, Formula One was decided before Vegas. We already knew who the world champion was. We don't know who the South African champion is yet. You'll talk to the drivers just now, but I think some of the Index of Performance Championship, and I'll spend a minute on that, but Index of Performance, the top 5 drivers are separated by 7 points. What's available next weekend? 100 points is up for grabs. So in the overall endurance championship standing, the top 21 drivers, any one of those top 21 can win this championship still.
Sheesh. The stakes are high for everyone. There's no favorites. Definitely no favoritism here.
No, definitely not. And it's
Yeah.
very close. And Kolili will tell you, and you'll hear it from Stradali Motorsport, they've got a lot of international experience as well. You can be 5 laps up 1 hour into the race or 2 hours into the race, and then 3 hours into the race you're 1 lap down because you've had a technical problem and you've had the car in the garage and you've had to fix the radiator or a wheel alignment or something's happened. It can happen that you can clip a slow-moving car on the track. You were unsighted, never saw him properly, and you can throw your entire race day away on something like that. Now, if it was sprint racing, guaranteed, if there's a clip or you hook somebody, the race is over for you, it's done. In endurance racing, limp back, get back to the pits, the team will climb underneath. They will be working with some engine parts that are upward of 80 to 100 degrees Celsius in their hands. They're going to remove gearboxes. I know of racing teams who drop an entire gearbox, replace it with another gearbox in 30 minutes. Yes, I know that the dealerships charge you 2 days for a gearbox replacement and many thousands of rands. I understand that. But the racing teams do it in 30 minutes. They can drop and change engines in an hour and a half. That's what they do. But that's endurance racing. So yeah,
100%.
it's a pendulum.
And it's a race against time. There's the race against your competitors, then there's a race against the clock itself.
Exactly. And you're racing against yourself, because you've also got team drivers, and some have got strengths and some have got weaknesses. Some are better at night, some are better in the day, some are better in corners, some are better in the straights. So a balanced team brings the balanced solution. But some drivers who maybe are better at night are slower at night are better in the day.
Indeed.
So the team strategy's got to find the right drivers to fill in the right times, and there's some rules around how long the stints can be and how many drivers you're allowed, all those kind of things. So yeah, those are challenges as well.
Yep, and I think that's something we can then get into. I like how you segued that very nicely for me. Segue into that with Xolile, who, of course, apart from being the chairman of SAES and Africa Racing Together, he is the head of and owner of Inter Africa Racing, and he has 2 very talented drivers who are going to share the car with him for the 9 hour,
I'll be back just now.
being Stuart and Mikhail. Please join us up on stage, gentlemen, so we can chat a bit about.
Can Gerald come up with
Thank you very much, Wayne. All right, so don't let their youthful faces fool you. These are probably two of the most experienced young racing drivers we have in the country, rather, and it's in cutting-edge equipment. Stuart and Mikhail. I think Mikhail more than Stuart recently got back from overseas, and he's celebrating being the youngest ever winner of the International GT Open, and that is something drivers all over the world respect, let alone us. So a big congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm curious, did you do a Damien Willemse and wear your race overalls for like a week after the win, or it wore off pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think I slept with my trophy for about 2 weeks after that. It was quite an emotional experience.
Well, I can imagine. Can you let everyone know how old you are, actually?
Yeah, so I turned 20 2 months ago. Yeah.
20 years old and is giving grown men a run for their money. But experience, I think, is the most valuable thing apart from age. What has shaped you into the racing driver you are now? Because South Africa does have a very strong karting scene, but how has your career trajectory looked for you to end up racing overseas and then eventually, of course, joining us for the 9 hour?
Yeah, so I started my career in karting at quite a young age, and I think that was purely the foundation that has made me who I am today. I think without the karting experience, it would be extremely difficult to jump into a car with no basics. I think karting has really shaped me, and now, of course, being given the opportunity to drive GT3 cars, which are completely different to any other type of car, with the aero, the downforce, the amount of power that we have. I think, yeah, I think karting is really, really the ground that every racing driver should have.
And mind you, some of our best karters are out in Bahrain at the moment in the World Finals, and South Africa actually has the highest percentage of world champions for the international kart racing scene. So we produce the most champions in the world for any country, which is quite impressive, and not surprising then to see that you guys are vying it out overseas. Now, Stewie, from the past season, of course, you've been very busy. You've been stepping in and out of many cars. How has that looked, and how's it going to contribute to your taking part, of course, in the 9 hour later this month?
Yeah, thank you firstly for having us today. The season, I would say it's like anything, it's like an endurance race, has its ups and downs. Sometimes you want to give up, and sometimes you just need to keep going. So I was very thankful this year to have many opportunities, firstly in Europe and also in South Africa, thanks to Kulile that made it possible, and also Sean Penrich and Defensor that was involved with my European stuff, and also in South Africa we broke the lap record at Swarkorp's all-time lap record of the Aston Martin. Won 2 endurance races and had some really good results. I think especially for how young the team is, it's grown a lot. I mean, even now for the 9 hour we have factory support from Lamborghini. We have engineers and mechanics arriving actually tomorrow morning from Italy, so it's great that a team has been growing this much and getting the recognition, not just in South Africa, but also in Europe from manufacturers to support us. So I think for the team, that's can say a blessing, but also how hard we've worked, and it's nice to get a recognition from a manufacturer to support us in such a big race. So that's big for us. And then on my side, again, racing, doing development on a 296 Ferrari for the factory Emofrey team, racing for them and the AF Corsa car as well in the Italian GT, where we had quite a few pole positions and a few pole positions and race wins. Unfortunately missed out on the championship due to a technical error that caused my teammate to DNF. So it was one of those things, but that's racing, and also racing McLaren Trophy Championship on quite a few well-known circuits. I can't reach the other shoulder, guys, but you understand. So yeah, it's been a busy season, been very fortunate. It's obviously a lot of pressure. Any job has its pressure, but I'm very thankful, and thanks to Kulile that made it possible. And I mean, there's a lot of people in this room that play a big role. I mean, from Gerald runs the team and does all the stuff behind the scenes, and even, I mean, to Shaw and Stradale that basically picked me up when I was driving a tractor on the farm when they started the project with Kulile. So there's many people that play a role that not everyone always gets the recognition for.
100%. Another thing that's worthy of recognition is just how close the championship is for, especially I'd say, into Africa and the teams that follow them. 7 points apart. You're leading the championship in Class A by 7 points. Does Xolile, is there an amount of pressure that sort of ramps up? Also considering that it's double points on offer for this championship. So as opposed to just taking 50 points for the win, you could take 100, and it makes much more of a chance available for the guys right behind you. So has the pressure mounted on for the team?
You know, I was saying to the team that we are leading the championship. If we do win the championship, it will mean that we will be the first team of color to win a national endurance series. So that's history right there. So there's pressure. And you're asking if the next weekend brings pressure. The team collectively has lost in the region of 50 kilograms, 48 kilograms of weight preparing for this race.
You lost the whole person, basically.
Collectively. He's lost 11 kgs. I think he's lost 6. I've lost 13. Wow. Gerald has lost 16.
Wow.
Even the people on the, that's the team manager and our head engineer. He had to lose 16 kgs for pursuing this dream.
Sheesh.
So this is the amount of pressure that we sit with in trying to do well in this race.
And as team leader, what would you say rather is the glue that keeps the team driven in a situation where there is so much pressure, but something needs to bring everyone together to make sure that we're still focused on that mission, which ultimately in the middle of December is going to show is finishing that 9 hour?
You know, I am fortunate that the stories that these young gentlemen are talking about, I never had that opportunity. The first time I ever got into a race car was 5 years ago in Charles Aston Martin. He's the one who introduced me to the sport.
Wow.
I have never been in a kart. I've never driven a race car before. But with the help of the team, with the help of when I started with Stradale, then 2 years ago we formed our own team. Gerald led that team. This young man came around and started teaching me how to drive a race car properly. And today, I think we are not. Oh well, I'm not that slow anymore. But these are opportunities that, when you sit back at home and realize and say, if we could bring a whole lot of these stories to the fore, if we can give so many other people these opportunities that these two gentlemen had. Today we're talking to people that are racing overseas. Stuart dragged me to race overseas this year, in part of him trying to train me to be a proper race driver. That came with its own pressures. So yes, as a team collectively, this championship means a lot, and we are equal to the task. And we're 7 points ahead of Stradale.
Yeah.
We are all one big family here, but believe me, come Saturday, you will see that there's not even shaking of hands.
It's all at war.
Yeah, so there is pressure, yeah.
Awesome. Closing thoughts from you, Mikael. What's your mind state rather and focus going into the race? I know your calendar looks a bit different throughout the year. I could be forgiven for saying this is your longest race you've done this year, correct? So how would you take this approach as compared to the rest of the season?
Well, okay, this year I was lucky enough to do two 24-hour races, one in Dubai and then one in Barcelona, but of course in a different car. But I think approaching this race weekend will be like approaching every other race weekend. It's trying to get my mind in the right place, trying to get my physical aspect into the right place. And I'm here not to prove a point. I'm here to help Xolile and Stuart win the championship. So there's a big responsibility on me to do my job, as they've asked me to do. So I think it's just another race, but I think it means a bit more than
Yeah.
than just another race
Yeah.
to my two teammates sitting next to me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to ask for your competitors to join us up on stage as well and give us some perspective
Yeah,
on what it's like chasing for the 7
I would,
points behind them.
while I have the opportunity, I'd like
Please
to thank everyone that's here and for supporting and being here today. And to my teammates and Gerald and the team, thank you so much. You know, we're probably the youngest team on the grid. We are a year and a half. The average age in the Into Africa racing team is about 25, 26 years. And that is skewed because of my 50 years that I had there. So thanks to these young men that have been part of this team, that have believed in this dream. And thanks to these young drivers that have come to the team, and thanks to Stuart, today we have a very strong team that's competing here in a very strong car. Gerald and the team have prepared one of the best Lamborghinis that you've seen in this country race. So thanks to all these people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the Inter Africa Racing team. Can Team Stradale please join up the stage? We've got Charles Ranges and Arnold Neveling joining us. No slouches at all. How you doing, Charles? Have a seat. You know, are you guys familiar with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and that sort of scene?
Yes.
There's a common saying, choose your fighter, and you guys, there's only 2 drivers here as opposed to 3 that we just had now. What's going on here?
Look, it was an impromptu thing this today.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we've had a teammate of ours, Clint Weston, for the whole year.
Yes.
He couldn't make a few races, and unfortunately, we'll be missing this race as well. He did the Kyalami 9-hour with us early in the year. So yeah, we're excited to actually, you know, like Tlolile said earlier, bring young drivers up as well. We're excited to say that Kwanda Mukuna will be joining us in the Mercedes. He's racing a Mercedes actually next year overseas,
yes.
and it's full circle for Kwanda. He started his circuit racing career with us, and here we go.
Uganda, had he raced throughout this year, would have been defending champion, of course.
Yes, quite correct.
He's the most recently crowned SA Endurance champion.
Yes.
At how old was he when he did that?
I don't know. How old was
18,
he?
19?
18, right? Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, we've got a very young driver as well, in
Incredible.
19-year-old
He's
Kwanda.
going to pull your average down quite
Yes.
nicely. Fantastic. But perspective going into this round, I know you had to drop round 4 at Swartkorps, unfortunately. Needless to say, pressure, that's the buzzword at the moment. But what do you focus on going into this race? Do you really look at the bigger achievement, or is it just the nitty-gritties that make up the entire campaign for the race?
Look, I mean, we are here to race. We're here to win. You know, we're here to compete. So
Yeah.
we've, as a team, has always been, you know, trying to win every single race that we enter. So, you know, this year has been a really hard-fought championship with Tlolile and Stuart. I mean, really kudos to the Into Africa team. They've lifted Tlolile, and Tlolile has been remarkable this year. So, you know, it's not like myself and Arnold can just pitch up at a race anymore. It's like we really have to fight. So yeah, it's dare I say, balls to the wall for this 9-hour. It's how many ever stints we're going to do. It's every single stint is a sprint race.
Yeah. And the circuit, obviously different in nature to a lot of the circuits we'd go throughout the entire calendar. Arnold, can you give us some insights how the dynamic changes going from shorter Swartkorps, for example, to a much longer, 3 times as long, actually, Kyalami?
Yeah, I think actually for us, at least it suits our car a little bit better. I don't think the Mercedes likes the really slow, tight corners. But yeah, I think then again also for traffic, maybe it's a bit better. Swartkorps gets a little bit tight with the traffic. But yeah, I think overall just quite interesting, and yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so how do you guys decide who's going to qualify? Because now Wanda is in the mix, and I know all of you are quick in any case. So is it a ching chong cha? Is it a what? Who? How do you decide?
Now, look, from a team's point of view, we don't have any or too much egos, luckily.
Okay.
So whoever's quickest during the day,
Okay.
we'll make that call when we get there. But
All right.
normally it's this guy next to me. Ari is, I think, the most seasoned driver in our team. And when it comes to the crunch, he will actually say that he can't qualify because he's always moaned about qualifying in the polo, but he's quite good in the Mercedes.
I think I get nervous. I don't know why.
Yeah, then you go ahead and break a lap record anyway. So.
Well, we could only try. But yeah, I look, in this kind of race, I don't think qualifying is everything.
Yeah.
You need to just be, you don't want to be in the mid pack, but at the end of the day, you just want to have a nice position, clean starts, and then get settled into it.
Yeah. Saul, can you close it up for us with your earliest memory of Kyalami?
Look, I actually started my started racing at Kyalami. My very first race on the track was at this track in an old Porsche 944 in the Porsche Cup back in the day. And it's evolved. I mean, this track is so technical. I thought I knew this track, and then the international guys came here and they just taught us that, this is a foreign place.
Quite literally. Thank you so much for joining us, Team
Thank you
Australia.
very much.
We're now going to be joined by Barend Pretorius of Team PSD Racing and Figile Hulumisa, who are in Class E of the SAE Championship. Now, Class E is a bit unique to some of the equipment we've been talking about with the gentleman you saw earlier. It's a lot less advanced looking, of course, but competitive nonetheless. This is the closest championship we have for the calendar. It's 1 point separating the top two and 20 points in total for the top 5 or 6. And considering that double points are on offer, anyone could win the championship actually at the end of this. And again, as is the trend, a very young looking person is here and is going to be marshalling some of that equipment. Barend, any nerves going into the 9 hour?
No, the nerves aren't too bad.
Okay.
I think we've prepped well for this race. So I think we sorted in that sense. I just think it's going to be an extremely long race. So I think that's going to be difficult, pacing yourself for 9 hours. Us only being 2 drivers for this event, it does make it a bit more tricky not having 3 drivers. So planning the stints will be extremely important.
Yeah. So it's a proper, 4.5 hour split?
Yeah, we'll check how we run it, but it's long. It's long.
It's endurance, my friend. And I'm sorry, I'm going to ask Fabian Lanz to also join us. He's going to be in the support racing class as well. We're going to have a bit of a chat with her, some interesting insights she has for us. Figile, hasn't been the easiest of seasons, and your team is a favorite of mine from last year. I mean, second in index of performance, 4th overall in the championship.
Yes.
And literally, was it 1 point deciding it last year, if I'm not mistaken?
It was 10 seconds, not 10 points.
10 seconds. So you can imagine the pressure. This year, though, round 1 and 2 didn't go too well, and we've had to bounce back a bit. How's that been for you?
Yeah, we couldn't finish the first 2 races because of the issues we had with the car.
Yeah.
But we managed to finish the last 2, even though we had issues at Swart Corps.
Yeah.
Such that we had to overhaul the car, and during the test, the car rolled, and it was written off.
Oh, jeez.
So they're busy building us a new car now, which we haven't driven. So we're going to drive it for the first time when we do practice here.
Incredible. During the test, the car rolled. What more in the race? Let's talk about commitment. that is quite something. So in terms of, now the reason why Class E is very interesting is because of how, apart from it being fast and competitive, it's also not very difficult to enter in terms of affordability and durability of parts. That does change slightly though when you look at the fact that 9 hours is going to be the longest race we've done this year. So reliability and all of those things, do you have any worries when it comes to that?
Well, these cars, sometimes they do behave, sometimes they don't. We are just hopeful that it's going to behave for the 9 hours. For as long as we don't keep it on the black stuff, it will. But if you take it off, sometimes then it tends to misbehave.
Yeah. Try keep it on then. That's the mantra.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fabian, funny, I was shocked to hear that this is going to be your first time racing at Kyalami. Shocked because Fabian is probably one of the most seasoned racing drivers, period. Let alone the fact that she's one of the only female racing drivers we're going to have on the circuit. And that is across the board, from karting all the way into main circuit, locally and internationally. I'm flexing on your behalf, I might as well just do it. She turned down a race overseas. She was invited to a race overseas and turned it down to be here for Kyalami. So, no slouch whatsoever. Fabienne, okay, now the floor is yours.
Thank you. So yeah, quite surprising that I've never raced here before. So I've driven on the track, in a Sports 2000 car, actually back in the day when Guguzulu was actually racing there, part of my dad's team. And I got an opportunity to drive, but never until next weekend that I can actually race on this track. So very excited.
Oh, fantastic. And how's team prep been for you? Because I know there have been a couple of hiccups when it came to your car, especially at round 4.
So yeah, the last round we couldn't finish. We actually had a water pipe burst on the Friday, and that just carried through to the Saturday. So we fixed everything and went testing again just to see that this is not working. So literally yesterday I went to go drive to get another engine. So we took it out, and after this, I'm actually going to get my gloves on and help the team to get the new engine in, so we can go test Sunday.
Incredible. And you're racing 2 classes here, 9-hour and the support race, correct?
That's correct. So the Golf 5 was going to be for the sprint racing. So I entered that strategically to get more laps on the track to prepare myself for the 9-hour.
Smart.
So that's working well. And then we were going to race an Alpha Mito in the 9-hour. But that car is not ready. So we made a call last week to say we're actually going to race a Golf in both.
Wow, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Looking forward to it. I'm very excited for all of you going into the 9-hour. We're going to have our CEO, Wayne Riddell, join us back again to give us a bit more insights into the weekend to come and what fans can look forward to. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
He did say he'd be back.
How's that talent?
Incredible.
It's
Incredible.
deep, eh?
Yeah, it's
Can you
incredible.
believe it? Yeah, no, the depth of talent we've got in motorsport is actually phenomenal. This is just less than 10% of what's racing this weekend. Next weekend. We have 190 race cars here next weekend. We have just downstairs in the main pit complex about 150 racing drivers that are going to compete in the 9-hour. We're going to consume about 30,000 liters of fuel in that race. What else?
What's the story on tires?
What's the story on tires? So the teams average a set of tires per hour. So it's 9 sets of tires per car, time 40-something cars on the grid, 9.5. So it's about 500 sets of tires. So I think it's more tires than the average household will have consumed in a lifetime. And I think the fuel we burn in the 9 hours is more than the average household will spend on a road-going car in a lifetime. So, yeah.
Is it at the rate we're paying at the pump right now, or because?
Well, actually, that's a good question. There's 2 types of fuel that the guys use. The Class E guys, the endurance guys, they kind of use pump fuel, 95.
Okay.
And then the GT cars and the prototypes, they use a hybrid type engine, and they run 102 octane, which is basically jet fuel. So they run with that, and they're burning up about 100 liters an hour.
Wow.
At that liter. And I know the average road car is about 60 or 70 liters,
Yes.
and you can drive a week to work on that. Yeah, no, they do that in an hour. So yeah, it's quite scary, some of the stats and some of the figures.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of activity, a lot of excitement. So next weekend we start off, and thanks to our president, for the first time in the history of the Republic of South Africa, we're going to have a sporting public holiday.
Actually.
Fact.
Yes.
All public holidays have been a reason. It's either been this patriotic reason or that political reason or whatever the case may be, or the day it was created or the day we voted or Women's Day. All of those, they've been a generic. This is the first time in the Republic we're going to have a sporting public holiday. So Friday's a public holiday and Saturday's a public holiday. So it's a double. You can come and have fun for 2 days.
Absolutely. And what does the fun look like? From the start, I think obviously your first intro into this is ticket prices. What's it looking like for people who want to come and join us?
So I don't want to poll the audience, but I can tell you right now that the audience are used to paying about 300, 400, 500 rand for a ticket for an event like this. Friday, $50 gets you in the gate.
50 Rand.
50 rand.
To see the
A
cars
little
they
red
just spoke
note.
about.
A little red note for $50. That's what's going to get you in the gate. The front gate. You can come and rub shoulders with the racing drivers, take photos, do everything. Come back on Saturday, $100. So $150 for the whole weekend. Last time I went with a family member to one of the movie houses, I think it was about 160 rand a head for 1.5 hours of entertainment and maybe a popcorn. I don't think it was popcorn and slush for that money. So think about this. You're going to get on the Friday about 12 hours of entertainment. On the Saturday, you're probably going to get about 18 hours of entertainment. So it's about 30 hours of entertainment for 150 rand. I think we've overpriced it. Hey guys, what do you think? Okay, why is it so cheap? Kolile's passion is to make the sport inclusive. So the passion and the drive here is to bring the youth, bring the people who've never experienced the sport before. Yeah. We are lowering the barrier of entry wherever we can. That's the reason why the ticket prices are so cheap. It was make the sport inclusive.
Yes.
So this is not an economic decision. Most motorsport events are economically driven, and therefore the prices are 500, 600, 700 rand. I just want to tell you, we went to Vegas. I touched on base. I was at Vegas 2 weeks ago. Do you know what is the cheapest ticket price to get in? 6,500 rand. There was general access sitting in the grandstands. 6.5 grand. Okay.
Isn't that almost a ticket price to actually get there to begin with?
A paddock pass to get into the back by the paddock. 147,000 rand a day for 3 days.
Jeez. Buy a car, ticket to Vegas, buy a car.
So what I'm saying to you is, our decisions as the promoters is 100%. Not an economic decision.
100%.
All right. Ours is about lowering the barrier of entry, getting the youth, getting youngsters come and enjoy the sport. I shared my story about us braaiing next to the track, mommy cooking, cooler box. It's open, guys.
Yeah.
Come in, bring your cooler boxes, bring your braais, bring your gazebos, bring your deck chairs. Come and picnic. Come and picnic here at Kyalami and watch some racing. Now that's an experience, I'm telling you right now, black South Africa has not experienced. Come and try it. It's a fact. You will have so much fun.
Yeah. And that price point isn't reflective of the quality of product you're getting.
Absolutely.
This is still cutting edge, high end GT racing, which even Europe would be envious of, because there's many racing drivers from around the world who bemoan trying to come to Kyalami and actually want to race here. There's Formula One drivers who want this circuit to actually be added to that calendar. Don't need to mention their names. So it's definitely something that is uncommon to see in terms of access to an event like this.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be unique to us, and I think that's great in terms of our contribution to the motorsport conversation around the world.
It's how we try.
Yeah.
Look, the reality is, Kolile, Stewart, Mikel, I mean, those guys, they've raced those racing cars here with the International 9 Hour that was here in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Stradale Motorsport have raced every single one of them here. So your point as to the quality of the show that we're putting on is definitely not watered down or diminished in the slightest.
Yeah.
I think we have 13 GT3 cars taking the start of the 9 Hour. 13.
That is
Okay.
a plus on how many from last time we had cars around here?
It's a plus a few. It's probably double.
Yeah, twice as much.
Yeah, correct.
Twice as much.
So yeah, but let's just talk about the front. That front pack. It's about 100 million rands worth of cars, racing cars. Okay.
Clean 100 million.
Yeah, just putting it into perspective for you guys, because you were talking about value proposition.
100%.
Okay, so what has the weekend got for us? It's got Friday morning. The guys, a lot of the people, Fabian is one of them. She needs to practice. She's not raced this circuit before. She's driven it, but she's never raced it.
Yeah.
So she's desperate for practice. A lot of drivers haven't. They're in the same rowing boat as Fabian. They've never raced this circuit. So Friday morning up until about 12 o'clock, each category of sport has got rotating practice sessions, go out, test the car. What's the car doing? How's it behaving?
Yeah.
As Fikile was saying, if the car doesn't behave, we hope it behaves, but if it doesn't behave, what needs to be done? So there's rotating practices up until about 12 o'clock. From 12 until about 3 o'clock, they're doing qualifying. So they get 10-minute gaps. They must go out, post their best times. The best times then will determine the starting order on the grid.
Yeah.
So there's that quali. We go right through until about 4 o'clock on qualifying. Then we go into the SAGT. Round 9 of the championship. That's the GT3s only. They race by themselves. That's the SAGT championship. That's a race. It's a 1-hour race.
Yeah.
That's what they would refer to in European terms as a sprint race. Because in endurance racing, 1 hour is a sprint.
Yes.
So we'll do the 1-hour sprint of the SAGTs. I think they start at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
5 o'clock they start. They finish at 6. And then we got sunset at about 6:30, 7:15. So we start night practice, mandatory night practice for all the drivers who will be racing in the endurance race, the 9-hour race. They have to experience this track in the dark. They have to understand the dynamics of the car. And remember, this circuit is not floodlit. So the marshal posts have got lights on them, but the corners are not lit up. The only lights they've got is the lights up on the car. Yeah. So the drivers need to understand what does that corner look like at night. And all of you have driven home at night, and the road is different at night, and you see different shadows and different things, and you think you see people when they're not. It's actually a tree and all those kind of things. So that's a reality. It's who we all are as humans.
Yeah.
So they need to experience 1 hour of mandatory night practice on Friday night from 7 until 8. So they can just get their eye in and understand the dynamics and what other challenges are brought to them from an endurance perspective. And then that's it. Saturday, we got a whole lot of additional packages. It's not just the general access, bring your cooler box and braai. I have a VIP experience for 100 Rand. You can come into the VIP lounge, big screens, music, food, all sorts of stuff. I don't know, where's my PR lady? Boniswa. I want to just check if I'm allowed to open my mouth now publicly or not. You know what? I signed the contract, I'm going to say it. So Casper will be playing here as well. Okay, look at that. Oh, you see, it does hit. So Casper is going to be joining the guys in the VIP lounge. He's going to do a set for us. We've got a few other popular DJs that are coming in as well. So we've got a bit of a lineup there for the guys. I spoke about entertainment, about boring and motorsport endurance. So we've got that lined up for the guys. Yeah. Those VIP packages are quite cheap, actually. It's 1,000 Rand for the whole day. It includes all the food and having all of these different musicians playing. So that's that experience. The VIP package also allows you to get into the Legends Boma, which is that one corner, the old VW Boma. It's the only one that was left, one of the buildings that was left when they revamped the Kyalami facility. Yes. So VIPs have access to that lounge. There's a bar there as well, and a Bedouin camp, and all sorts of stuff. So there's some experience there for the guys.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah.
All-round entertainment we're looking forward to on the 15th and the 16th. Well, closing sentiments, Wayne, for everyone?
For me, Kyalami is its true name.
Yeah.
For me, this is my home. My first experience was here. I had the privilege of being employed by this organization at Kyalami. I was here helping with the preparations for the 2019 first international event. I worked at Motorsport South Africa, and I saw the plans on paper on the new changes of this circuit. I had my finger in that. So I'm almost full circle. Now I'm a promoter. It's my first time promoting an event here. So I'm very, very excited. Kolile and Isak have supported me unconditionally to get us to this point.
Yeah.
We are super, super excited. I think it's going to be a great weekend. There's a lot of work behind the scenes. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
But we are ready. We are ready.
Right.
It's going to be a good experience. I'm expecting 1 or 2 bumps. It has to happen. You know, even if you go to music festivals anywhere in the world, there's always someone who never got the brief. Someone who was slow, or when they got the brief, the one paper fell out of the printer. They never read that paper. Yeah. So it can happen. So I'm sure there will be 1 or 2 challenges facing us, but it is what it is. It's an event. We're putting it on, putting our best foot forward. You can see today we've tried to put our best foot forward. I think you guys have all done a fantastic job. The team all have. Thanks to you. You've held us all together today. So yeah, I'm excited. And I hope, my announcement, all of you who got your media accreditation, that little card around your neck, that's your free entry into the VIP lounge for next weekend. Okay. Whoop, whoop. So all of you who've got that around your neck, it's gold. It's more valuable than your driver's license. Your driver's license you can replace. If you lose that, you can't replace it. So yeah, that's your ticket, guys. Welcome. And that gets you into the VIP lounge next weekend, all right, on Saturday. So just thought I'd share that good news with you. And for those who left early, well, sorry for them. The best news is always last, eh?
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Wayne.
Thank you. Thanks to Boniswa for putting this all together. She's done a sterling job. Her and her team, I really appreciate it. We're going to serve lunch now, and then there's the photographers will take some photographs. We've got the racing car outside for the guys to take some photos of that. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day, and looking forward to seeing you on the 15th and 16th. Cheers.